All right, everyone. Welcome back to the land of Chem. I am your host and the author. My name is Jeffrey Drum. Thank you all so much for joining me again. All right, everyone, welcome back. This is episode 107, and today I will be discussing some various types of ancient technology that have been utilized in the construction and operation of the Giza plateau pyramid system, including artificial stone, hydraulic lifts, and underground shaft systems. And at the end of the video, I explore the mysterious Osiris Shaft in anticipation of a major upcoming episode that will continue to reveal more hidden secrets of the chemistry within the Egyptian pyramids. If this is the type of content you're interested in regarding ancient technology of a lost civilization and the function of the Egyptian pyramids and other ancient sites from across the world, please subscribe to the Land of Chem here on YouTube. Remember to click that little notification bell so that you do not miss the new episodes that premiere twice per week. Like, comment, and stay tuned. If you want to help support this channel, check out the Land of Chem members only section, link in the video description below, for exclusive research and unreleased footage that you will not see anywhere else. If you want to pick up a copy of the book or grab some Land of Chem merch, check out thelandofchem.com. If you want to follow me on Instagram, my handle is @thelandofchem. Ladies and gentlemen, I think that is it for today's intro. So without further ado, let's get right to it. All right, everyone, here we go with tonight's episode. In part one, I will show you an example of what may be a type of artificial stone compound like concrete that I discovered on the Giza Plateau on the eastern side of the Great Pyramid. In many previous episodes, I have stated that I do not believe the geopolymer theory that the limestone blocks used to build the Egyptian pyramids are man-made stone. And I have shown evidence, for example, at the Bent Pyramid of Dashur, of a naturally occurring vein of salt that runs through multiple blocks in a row within the body of that pyramid. And these blocks are separated by mortar. This proves not only that they are natural stone, but also that they were cut and numbered in the quarry and then placed back in the same order within the construction itself, resulting in this naturally occurring salt vein still persisting across multiple blocks. An absolutely spectacular feat of ancient engineering. However, this ancient civilization would certainly have had the capability of producing plasters and coatings, mortars and cements, and other artificial compounds for applications ranging from construction material adhesion, protective coatings, structural facades, repair work, etc. And they would have utilized these various different types of materials when applicable. And this idea does work well with my explanation of an ancient civilization that was well versed in industrial scale chemistry. To me, it does not make any sense to pulverize quarried stone and then reshape it back into a block for overall construction purposes. However, there would have been certain applications where a concrete of sorts would have been more suitable. And here, you will see evidence of an area where both natural limestone blocks and what might be an artificial facade have been used. So just take a look at this picture. These, here and here, are natural limestone blocks that compose the body of the structure itself. And then you have this piece, a facade on the exterior of the blocks that definitely appears to be an artificial compound of some sort. And you can see here that the layer is approximately 1.5 feet thick, and it is mortared to the surface of the limestone blocks. And a bit closer, you can see how fine and homogeneous the mixture of particles within this material are. This does not look like the limestone blocks at any construction in Egypt. So now I'll put in the footage so you can take an up-close look at this very unusual material for yourself.
And we're back here investigating the structures on the eastern side of the Great Pyramid, and I wanted to get this section right here on camera before this battery runs out. Here you can see blocks of stone. These are blocks of limestone. But look at this thick layer right here. See this layer going all the way here? It's about 1.5 feet thick. There are no delineations of blocks of stone here. Look at how fine the material is. This, to me, appears to be a giant layer of plaster. This whole section here. And it would have been a facade that was covering, you can see more of it down here. And it's literally about 1.5 feet thick. And it's even mortared into the wall over here. This is all mortar. This is not a limestone block. All right, and I just changed batteries so I could get this a little bit more thoroughly. Okay, so limestone blocks. And I noticed this huge piece here. And this section down here is a facade piece. And as I walked up closer to it, it's like a huge layer of plaster. And you can see the separation here of where this layer was applied to the exterior of the stone. And I was just describing to Lex how it would be highly unusual for the Egyptians to cut 1.5 feet wide piece of stone. They used blocks in the vast majority of all of the construction. And as I was showing up here, if you look in here, you know, the grain of the limestone is very different. But if you look at this is super fine. And you can see here where the chipping is, it's applied to the blocks. You can see there's some mortar. Here's a mortar. Okay, so this is mortar here that's in between the blocks, and this piece here was just stuck to the outside. Very unusual.
And now, tying things back to the ancient structures that we have been discussing across England and Ireland, this excerpt from William Stukeley's 1700 book on Stonehenge was displayed at the hotel that we stayed at near this site. And I will read here. It is the opinion of some that these stones are not natural or such as are dug out of the rock, but artificial, being made of a fine sand, cemented together by a gluey fort of matter, like those monuments which I have seen in Yorkshire. And this is not so strange, for do not we read in Pliny that the sand of some illegible place here, the sand infused in water, is perfectly turned into stone, And you can see here that whoever displayed this page went so far as to write artificial rock here on the document. Next up, I explore the vertical shaft systems that were excavated into the bedrock of the Giza plateau here on the eastern side of the Great Pyramid in a structure known as the Isis Temple. I propose that these vertical shafts were water-filled hydraulic shaft systems that were utilized to float smaller stones to the construction sites as described in episode 38, Building the Great Pyramid with Water. And I'll put a link to that video in the video description below. After the construction was complete, these shafts could have also been used to transport solutions of various chemicals across the plateau within the processing facilities adjacent to the pyramids. So now, let's take a look.
All right, everyone, welcome back to the land of chem. We're out here on the Giza plateau today. It is early October when we're filming this video, and I can tell you it is a few degrees cooler out here in a completely different environment, being in Egypt without the oppressive summer sun. I'm out here today with Alexa from Ancient Odysseys.
Hello.
We're filming some content for her channel, investigating some of the anomalous geology here on the Giza plateau. And she'll have a video coming up on her channel. I'll put a link in the video description below. So please subscribe and stay tuned for more on her channel. So today, my intention was to visit the Giza plateau and investigate a structure called the Isis Temple, which was shown to us by our personal escort, the lead inspector from the Ministry of Antiquities for the entire Giza plateau, who specifically pointed out to our tour group a structure called the Isis Temple, which he described as the focal point of the entire Giza plateau that connected the Great Pyramid to all of the other surrounding structures. So I'm going to take you with me today. We are here on the eastern side of the Great Pyramid, back behind G1A and the adjacent temples. And there are these walkways in between these series of temples heading down to the east on the Giza plateau. And as we proceed to walk toward the Isis Temple, I'll also show you some of the pits that are strewn about this entire area. And I believe that these pits have a dual function. So follow me, we'll go check these things out. And when we see the first one, I'll give you my initial interpretation of the first function of these pits that are excavated down into the bedrock. Yalla bina. And so the first thing that we'll take a look at here is this very unusual piece of stone, which immediately jumped out to me because you just don't see pieces that look like this basically anywhere in the constructions here in Egypt. And I can already see there's this piece here and this piece here are part of the same component of this structure. And you can see here what appear to be the remains of two columns or pillars that once rose up in between these two structures. And this piece may have been a covering that was placed across these two pillars in a very unusual shape for stone. You'll see everything else here is either a casing stone or a rough cut interior block. And I would say these pieces probably went across this, spanning from this structure all the way across the top over here. And the rows of these rectangular temple structures continue down the eastern side of the Giza Plateau, adjacent to the Great Pyramid. And these are described as the cemetery on the eastern side of the structure. This here is the remains of G1B.
I'm following you. You're doing an amazing job.
تمام شكرا.
How are you?
كله تمام وانت؟
Perfect.
ماشي.
I'm so proud of you. What are you
شكرا
doing?
جزيلا. Thank you. Thank you. And now we're in the temple area behind G1C. The third, and you may be able to see the tip of G1C poking out right there. And here are some of these pits. So this is just a small example of what is found all across the Giza Plateau, not only here on the eastern side of the Great Pyramid, but also adjacent to the causeway leading from the central pyramid down to the Sphinx enclosure, and literally all across the entire Giza Plateau. You find these pits that are excavated down into the bedrock. And you can see here one that's not filled with rubble. This one you can see about 20 feet down into the bedrock. And this one here going down even further. So I would say that's probably a good 30 feet, 40 feet down into the bedrock. But you'll see down at the bottom there that it's still only partially excavated. There is sand and unfortunately trash down in there now. So I believe that these shafts down into the bedrock had a dual function. The primary stage of operation for these shaft systems were for delivering blocks of stone directly to the building sites. And as I've described in previous episode, building the Great Pyramid with water, I believe that these limestone blocks were floated with wood flotation devices underwater and up directly to the building sites. And there's a lot of evidence to support that conclusion. And these shafts could have been used to deliver the limestone blocks directly to the building site. So they were floated up the hollow causeway that was filled with water using wooden floats to float the limestone blocks. The block would have floated up through the shaft directly to the construction site. And the casing stones were used as a progressively growing external reservoir. So the first layer of casing stones was set in place and filled with water. The blocks were floated up into that small enclosure, set into place. The next layer of casing stones went up, and the reservoir got higher and higher as the structure itself was built. So this is stage one of the construction process, utilizing these shafts in the bedrock as a portion of the construction process. However, after the construction was complete, these had a secondary function. And as I described in the previous episode 102, it was corroborated that there are underground shafts connecting the Great Pyramid and the other pyramids here on the Giza Plateau into other structures such as the Sphinx enclosure. So the construction was just stage one of what was happening here on the Giza Plateau. So now we're going to walk around the front side of this temple, and I'll show you a structure that is described as the Isis temple and another massive shaft going about 100 feet down into the Giza plateau. And you'll see here, so the shafts that we just saw were at ground level. This next shaft is higher up in the structure. Evidence that as the construction got taller, the shaft was expanded upward so that the process of construction could continue. The blocks couldn't just stay at ground level. They had to be raised in a column of water, floated up higher and higher within the structure. So again, this is evidence that the shaft got taller as the structure itself was erected. So this is what we came to see, probably one of the deepest shafts that I've seen in this area of the Giza plateau. And there are two of them. There's actually, well, four at the top of this structure. One here to the right, one here to the left, my left, that's covered with this huge chunk of stone. So this chunk of stone here is set on top of another one of these incredibly deep shafts. And take a look at this, and you can see how far this goes down into the bedrock. And so looking down into the shaft, you can see that this descends I would say probably 60 feet. And you can see a very clear delineation of where the stone masonry of the structure itself begins and the bedrock So imagine these shafts being filled with a column of water. A limestone block with a wooden float attached to the top of it being used to raise that piece of stone up the column of water into the enclosure here on the top of the structure, and the stone could literally be floated into the exact place it was required within the structure. However, the secondary stage of operation in utilizing these shafts is much more interesting. So we have behind us the Great Pyramid of Giza, which I have proposed was designed to produce a dilute solution of sulfuric acid. And these solutions were then distributed across the plateau All right, so we're just letting a little tour group pass so that I didn't hear the whole spiel. So I was mentioning that the Great Pyramid of Giza was producing a dilute solution of sulfuric acid. Central Pyramid of Giza was producing a dilute solution of hydrochloric acid. And so in the construction process, we have this pre-existing network of underground shafts that already connect all of the structures across the Giza plateau. It makes brilliant sense to reutilize this connected network of shafts to then distribute the solutions of acids to different processing areas and temples across the Giza plateau. So these acidic solutions were utilized for the strategic leach mining of metallic ore deposits that are located here on the Giza plateau, the chemical analysis of which I presented in numerous different episodes here on the channel. So to summarize, this huge network of underground shafts and pits across the Giza plateau were utilized first in the construction process of the monuments themselves to deliver limestone blocks or whatever type of stone was being utilized in the construction through water-filled channels and floated using wooden flotation devices to lift these stones into the appropriate place within the construction. After the monuments themselves were completed, they then reutilized this network of underground shafts for transporting aqueous solutions containing all of these various dissolved metal ores to various places across the Giza plateau, including the Sphinx enclosure. And I have an absolutely monumental episode coming up explaining the connections between the Great Pyramid and the Sphinx enclosure and the function of that structure coming up very soon. So please subscribe, stay tuned. And as a little bonus, here on the southeastern side of the Great Pyramid, we were investigating the plateau the other day and taking a look at this structure here. And I noticed this huge channel here. And I'll take you around the front of the structure to show you another very unusual component connected into the front of this thing. And so this is a view of the plateau you might not see very often. Looking down toward modern Giza. And you'll notice here on the front of the structure this inclined component leading into the structure itself. And the termination of this thing has now been completely destroyed. So it would be very difficult to determine exactly what this is leading into the side of this quote-unquote mortuary temple. And we're going to see if we can get inside here and take a look so you can see it from the inside. All right, so here we are inside of this mortuary temple.
And last but not least, I examined the openings into the Osiris Shaft system, specifically on the northern side. And I'll put in some footage from my 2022 private special permission access into this underground system, as it will be featured in a monumental episode coming up soon. Hope you enjoy.
All right, now, continuing today's expedition here on the eastern side of the central pyramid. And we're gonna take a walk down the causeway to investigate the Osiris Shaft. And for those of you that are joining on my 2024 Egypt tour, we have arranged special permission access, not only to the Great Pyramid, but also into the Osiris Shaft. So we will be descending 100 meters below the Giza plateau to investigate the subterranean system. I just got excited to see this view. And it is awesome to be back here on the Giza plateau. All right, so now we're going to take a walk down the causeway. The entrance to the Osiris Shaft is located adjacent to the causeway of the Central Pyramid, leading down toward the Sphinx enclosure. So we will continue walking down the causeway here, and specifically I'm intent on looking at the back side access of the Osiris Shaft. I'll show you the main entrance, and I may dig out some clips from my expedition into the Osiris Shaft in 2022, where Yusuf and I had a private entry into the subterranean system. And as soon as we were preparing to go down there, of course, the electricity shut off. So we got to go down into the Osiris Shaft in the dark. It was awesome. And I gotta say, today has been one of the busiest days I've ever seen on the Giza plateau. Lex is nodding her head back there because it's been kind of crazy up here today. There was a group of hundreds of school-age children flooding out of the gates as we were walking in. So it was good timing that they were all clearing out as we were coming in, but it's been busy today. انت عامل ايه؟
عليكم السلام.
Everybody seemed very talkative today. They probably say this to everybody, but I'm Rambo and she's Shakira. So hey, Shakira, hey, Mr. Rambo. All right, so this seemingly innocuous feature here is the opening down into the Osiris Shaft. This is the top of the shaft system that descends 100 meters into the Giza plateau bedrock. And we'll show you the opening over here.
Sorry, close the area.
I know. Hey, na Osiris Shaft. I know what's here. It's okay.
But it closed the area.
I know.
Where are you going?
I'm going right here.
No, closed.
No, I can go right here.
No, closed.
I'm not going in, but I can film right here. So this, ladies and gentlemen, is the opening and access into the Osiris Shaft. And I'll show you my footage from my special permission access. And you can see here the first ladder system that leads down to the first level. And this is a 3-level system beneath the bedrock adjacent to the causeway of the central pyramid. And I'll put in the footage now so that you can see down inside the Osiris Shaft. All right, so that guy, they must have a, you know, a group or some sort of, I hate to call what they do here archaeology, but something going on. Burn. Hello. All right, so here we go. This is what I came to look at. The backside access of the Osiris Shaft. And for those of you that are members of the Land of Chem members only channel, coming up soon, I'm going to reveal the footage that left me speechless from an expedition to the Giza plateau, where I discovered by far the most prolific evidence for the strategic leach mining of metallic ores here on the Giza plateau, including the function of these shaft systems that go down into the bedrock here adjacent. So that's the Great Pyramid, and this is the Central Pyramid. The reason I wanted to come back here is to look at this access specifically. And you can see here, this is another area. Not one single chisel mark. Look at how round and eroded the top of this backside access is. And they do have the lights on in there today. You can see down in there they have. So that's how sketchy it is to go down in there. You can see, yeah, you can see the, I hate to even call it infrastructure. But
you did this in the dark.
In the dark, yeah, it's pretty crazy. So I wanted to show you this access, and I'll put in some diagrams at the beginning of the video so you can see exactly where this is. And we will be connecting all of the dots very soon, which also include these shaft systems. Incredibly deep, that go down into the bedrock of the Giza plateau. And you can see here all of these gates. And 1, 2, 3, 4, and there's another massive one down here. Huge, incredibly deep shaft systems. See the opening of one of these here. Down here in what for now I'll call a valley on the northern side of the Central Pyramid Causeway. There's another one. Oh, and look at that. You can see down in here that there's a shaft connection going in this direction and in this direction. So north, there's a tunnel going this way, and south. And they have gates covering the one leading to the south. And again, those of you that are on the members only channel already know what's up. I put in a huge revelation that was caught on camera from the lead inspector of the Giza plateau. Holy. That is, you can hear the echo. I mean, that's gotta be, I mean, that may be even deeper than the Osiris Shaft. That thing is cavernous. Hello. You can hear all the birds down in there going nuts. This may be the deepest one. And the conventional archaeology has absolutely zero explanation or even attempt to explain the function of these shafts.
Some sort of critter down there.
And as we're wrapping up here for the day, I'll show you this other one. There's another one here. And I don't like to get too close to the edge of this thing, but you can just see how immense this one is here. And there's an extremely eroded pit here. And you can see that pit shoots out here in this direction. There's another one here that looks to be flowing south. And there's the top of the head of the Sphinx enclosure. شكرا صديقي أنا بعيش هنا أنا من مصر شكرا جزيلا أنا بعالم لا شكرا مع السلامة. All right, so with that being said, ladies and gentlemen, happy late Thanksgiving. It is time for us to go feast at the Pyramid Restaurant. Hawashi, Shishawuk, the whole spread, kufta. It's great to be back here in Egypt. Until next time, masalema. All right, brother, we're all suited up and ready to go.
All right.
Super excited.
Let's
this
get
is
going.
going to be awesome. All right, without further ado.
We are now descending to the first level.
I'll wait for you.
Okay.
And here's Yusuf coming down to join me on the first level. And it does not get much more than private access than this, ladies and gentlemen.
So, usually, When we are wandering around the Giza plateau, we look through the shafts and we see a shaft that leads to somewhere else. But we never know where actually it leads to until we get down here.
Exactly.
So if you can look here, we are already on the bottom of the first level.
Probably 20, 30 feet. About 10 meters.
About.
And this is below the causeway, because we just took that video from up there looking into that gate.
Yeah.
So
Now
you can...
imagine the challenge without this electricity.
Yeah, exactly.
So this is one of the other things. How could they create light down there? No torches, there is no oxygen.
And look.
Reflecting the light through these passages.
And this is something that we noticed in the Serapeum as well. There are no carbon deposits on the ceilings. And if this was dug out and explored with torches, you'd expect to see a pretty exceptional amount of soot down in here, which certainly don't. And this is step number 2. Yes.
Look, you will go first,
Is down this one.
and I will follow you.
Slowly but surely. Stay tuned. All right, ladies and gentlemen. I am now down here in the second level of the Osiris Shaft. And I am going to give you my first reaction to being down in here. I have waited 4 trips to Egypt and my entire life to do something like this. And they had the electricity turned on, which went out as soon as we started to climb down in here, which in my personal opinion makes it even more badass. And you can immediately see the shiny coating material that has been applied to this container. And when Yusuf gets down here, we are going to do a full discussion and explanation of exactly what this material is. And that's right, ladies and gentlemen, a chemical analysis was done of this material. And when I tell you what it is as remarkable as the chemical analysis of the staining in the Red Pyramid. And it's an indication of the capabilities of this ancient civilization. And just a note, you can see the deposit of iron oxide there. Kind of no surprise whatsoever that we would find that down in here, because I truly believe that those iron oxide deposits are a functional part of this structure. And you can see here another deposit up in that corner. And they say that originally all 6 of these housings were filled with containers. There's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 housings down here, but only 2 boxes remain. And this one here is an absolutely magnificent artifact. And it is made of one of the most unusual materials ever found in Egypt. Specifically so, because this material is not found in Egypt. It is not found in any other site in Egypt, no other container, nor are there deposits of this material anywhere in Egypt. And ladies and gentlemen, this is a material known as dacite. And it is said to have an extremely high content of crystalline quartz, microcrystalline quartz. So we've been discussing the properties of quartz crystal as related to the electromagnetic energy field that we tested on some of the stones of the pyramid geology. So first question is, where did they find the quarry for this material? Because you would have to have a massive deposit of dacite to be able to extract a piece large enough to be able to make a container out of one single piece. So this is an exceptionally rare material found in Egypt, or found in this site specifically. Second question is, how the hell did they get it all the way here? Clearly they were experts at extracting and moving stone, but it is an exceptionally long distance. And then as we turn back around, now that Yusuf's down here, we can discuss a little bit about the coating material that is found on here. And one other thing to mention, there have been other research expeditions down inside this shaft system, and they brought Geiger counters down in here. And they found that the level of radioactivity inside of these containers is significantly higher than the ambient radioactivity in the cavity itself. And I'm going to be showing some video from the research expedition and the research team that took the analysis and did the Geiger counter. But I'm going to cut and we'll be back in just a moment. All right, ladies and gentlemen, Yusuf and I are down here inside the second level of the Osiris Shaft system. And as I was researching in preparation for this expedition, I came across a research team that had taken chemical analysis of the material that you see coating this container. Now there's two separate layers in the analysis of this coating. So the first and external level is a coating of bitumen, tar, or pitch, which most likely came from the modern time. It's like axle grease. And there's a big wheel right behind us in this other chamber. So clearly they had modern equipment down inside of this chamber.
Archaeologists
extracting whatever from down in here. And I guarantee you that pitch came from the wheel as they were moving the lid or something of that nature, setting up the equipment down here. So the external layer is that modern bitumen, tar, pitch, or grease. However, the chemical analysis from yet another Russian research team has shown that there's a layer underneath that, an ancient layer of, once again, rare exotic metals. And the chemical composition of the sealing layer, the coating layer that was originally applied to this container, is lead, titanium, arsenic, zinc, and iron. That's right, ladies and gentlemen. Lead, titanium, arsenic, zinc, and iron. So this ancient civilization not only had the knowledge of exotic metals, but the ability to extract them and create compounds that were utilized to seal these containers. And I mentioned already that there was Geiger counter readings taken from inside of these containers, and the radioactivity inside of these containers is significantly higher than the ambient here in the chamber. So these are very, very unusual containers indeed, ladies and gentlemen. And once again, these are indicative of the knowledge and sophistication of this ancient civilization. So the question remains, what the hell are these things doing down here? And what was the function thereof? And that is why we're here, ladies and gentlemen, in the depths of the Giza Plateau in search of answers, the mysteries of ancient alchemy, and once again, the mysteries of ancient metallurgy.
You know, Jeff, I never heard of the original layer that you were just mentioning the analysis of, which makes me wonder right now. Who spilled this other type of oil, engine oil, on top of the box? And was that an accident?
Yeah.
Accident?
Exactly.
And why it was not cleaned? You're down here, bro.
Thank you so much again,
Hey.
Yusuf, for
This is a real
amazing
adventure.
opportunity.
Yeah.
A lifelong dream come true. Down here, 35 meters underneath the Giza Plateau. Special permission.
And we still have a level to go.
One more to go.
Yes.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, one other thing to mention about these very unusual containers. So that same Russian research team did a new dating analysis of these stones. And the analysis technique involves analysis of chemical composition that is maintained in the crystalline material of the stone. And they can tell either when the stone was last exposed to the sun, which would give you the original quarrying date of the material, or the date that the material was brought here into the underground shaft. And that dating gives us a date of approximately 800 to 1,000 years prior to the construction of the monuments on the Giza Plateau. So 1,000 years before the dynastic period. These stones were extracted from the quarry and brought down here into the subterranean chamber. However, that dating analysis is also related to possibly being the last time that these stones were heated to a high temperature. And I'll show more analysis and breakdown of that explanation in the video from the research team. But this dating analysis technique will either give you a reading on when that stone was last exposed to the sun or when that stone was last heated to a high temperature. And that second factor is directly related to what I propose or will be proposing are the function of these containers. So let's say that 1,000 years prior to the construction of the Giza Plateau, or the conventional date rather, of the construction of the Giza Plateau, these containers were here in the subterranean system getting hotter and hotter and hotter. So what exactly was the function of these containers that are coated with rare exotic metals and contain traces of radioactivity inside of the cavity itself? An absolutely spectacular mystery that I am so unbelievably grateful to be a part of. It is truly amazing and a blessing. All right, ladies and gentlemen, I just made it down into the third and final level. And this is not what I was expecting. Look at this. Crystal clear water. And in the center of that water, you can see the container. And surrounding that container, you can see the remains of the 4 pillars that were originally down here. 2. There's 1. There's 1. And you can see here this piece of wood and rope that they most likely had a pulley on that was attached to move and remove that lid. And once again, they found nothing inside of that container. Man, if it was safe to do so, imagine taking a little swim around in this thing.
Been there, done that. But not anymore.
If you got some waders on and some good shoes, you can go in there. Man, this is absolutely amazing. And I don't know if they've gotten what type of... Yusuf, do you know if they know the type of stone?
It's black granite.
Black granite.
Like cyanide, similar to the one in the Serapeum of Saqqara.
So, but look at
Is
just
there
how...
enough space for me to come?
Yeah, come on. I'll scoot out of the way. Look at how crystal clear that water is. And I'm trying to envision what this chamber would have been like in its original condition. And it's just unbelievably mind-blowing that this type of structure exists this far underneath the Giza plateau. And this is just one shaft. There are dozens and dozens and dozens of these shaft systems.
It's not the largest.
And like Yusuf, you might have heard Yusuf above me coming down this ladder. It's not even the largest. So what would they find if they excavated all of these other shaft systems? How many more of these subterranean chambers and these spectacular containers made of rare geology and coated with exotic metals? What else is buried underneath the Giza plateau? Well, we will probably never find out, but step by step, we are extracting the mysteries of ancient Egypt. Stay tuned for more. Here, from the land of Chem, in the depths of the land of Chem, 100 feet, 35 meters underneath the Giza plateau, in the third level of the Osiris Shaft. And ladies and gentlemen, the one and only Yusuf Alian, as we begin our ascent back to the surface of the Giza plateau. And as we said before, this is the 2022 Land of Chem Ancient Alchemy and Ascension Tour. And we are literally in the process of being brought back to life as we ascend back to the sunshine of the Giza plateau. This has been an absolutely spectacular experience, a one-of-a-kind, hopefully not once in a lifetime, but just the first of many expeditions down here into the depths of the Osiris Shaft. Once again, thank you so much to Yusuf and the Kemet School of Ancient Mysticism for bringing me down in here. The Osiris Shaft, ladies and gentlemen, here from the land of Chem.
All right, everyone, that is it for today's video. This was episode 107, Artificial Stone, Hydraulic Lifts, and the Osiris Shaft. I really hope you enjoyed today's video. And in this week's Sunday site visit, the bewildering structure known as Old Sarum. This is an episode you do not want to miss. So if you're interested in chemistry, ancient technology, and the function of the Egyptian pyramids and other ancient sites from across the world, this is the channel for you. So please subscribe to the Land of Chem here on YouTube. Click that little notification bell, like, comment, and stay tuned. If you want to help support this channel, check out the Land of Chem members only section, link in the video description below, exclusive research-related content and unreleased footage that you will not see anywhere else. If you want to pick up a copy of the book or grab some merch, check out thelandofchem.com. If you want to follow me on Instagram, my handle is @thelandofchem. Also, don't forget to check out all of our other channels here on YouTube, Ancient Odysseys, Egypt Eats, and the newest addition to the Land of Chem family, Egyptian Trash Cats, for our adventures caring for our Egyptian street cat family. Ladies and gentlemen, I think that is it for today's video. So I will see you next time.
Yo, are you still watching this? Please subscribe to the Land of Chem here on YouTube and click that little notification button New videos coming out every single week. And check out this other episode. Come on, do it. Do it now.